Hello guys, and welcome to Small Samuel Maths Tutorials. So today's lesson we are going to talk about the inequalities and also how do we solve for x whenever there is a square root through that equation. And also I'm going to explain the short tricks that are wrote there, which are going to help you a lot in solving inequalities questions. So let's start with the first question, which is x squared plus x minus 12, which is greater than or equals to 0. We are instructed to solve for x, but then because we can see that we have greater than or equals to, it represents what the inequalities, right? So meaning the first thing that we need to do is to change that inequality to what? To the equation, which is going to have, we are going to have something like x squared plus x minus 12, then we change that thing to equals to, therefore we're going to have equals to 0. Then now we solve for x, right? So whenever solving for x, guys, you can either use quadratic formula or you can use the short step, right? So you're allowed to use quadratic formula, guys. So now let's use this one. I prefer this one. But then whenever you find it difficult to find the values here, please use quadratic formula. Therefore, we're going to have x plus 4 and then x minus 3. Then our x is going to be negative 4 or x is equals to 3. This is what we care about, like finding the values. So either you used the quadratic formula or use this one, you are still correct because the things that we are focusing on is to find the values of x. So after finding the values of x, we do what? We draw a line. We draw a timeline. After drawing this, or let me draw it well. Yeah, so let's say we have something like this. So now we're going to plug the two values that we got. So from the timeline, we know that we're going to start with negative 4 and then it comes what? The right. After writing these values, we can see that, okay, it's from negative 4 to what? To negative infinity. So meaning we have negative infinity here. Then it's positive 3 to what? To positive infinite, right? So now we need to find the signs of from negative 4 to negative infinity and also the sign from negative 4 and to 3 and also the sign from 3 to positive infinity. So how do we find those signs? From negative 4 to negative infinity, guys. So this is how we find those values. We choose any value which is less than negative 4. So meaning your value can either be negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, right? But then it has to be what? Negative. It has to be less than negative 4, right? So after choosing that value, for instance, now we chose negative 5. Let's say we chose negative 5. As we chose negative 5, we are going to plug it from the original equation, which is x squared plus x minus 12, right? So after plugging it from this original equation, we need to get, if we only focus on the signs. So if the answer is positive 12 or negative 12, let's say now we plug negative 5, we found that our answer is positive. So therefore, from negative 4 to negative infinity, we have positive sign. Therefore, we are going to write positive here. We are going to have positive, right? So now we are going to choose a value between negative 4 and 3. So meaning you can either choose negative 3, negative 2, negative 1 and plug it where? From the original equation, right? After plugging it from the original equation, obviously you're going to get the answer. Then the only thing that we focus on is what? It's a sign. It's if it's positive, you write positive. If it's negative, you write negative. So you can choose negative 3. After choosing negative 3 or negative 2 or negative 1, you can see that our answer here, we're going to have the negative sign. from -4 to 3. Then after from 3 to infinite to positive infinite. So it means what? We choose any value which is greater than 3, right? So it can either be 4, 5, 6 up to positive infinite. And then plug it where from the original equation. After plugging it, you'll find the value, and then if you plug it, you're going to find that it's going to be positive, right? So let me just erase some things here. Okay guys, we can see that now we have from -4 to negative infinity we have positive, and then from -4 to 3 we have negative, and from 3 to positive infinity we have positive, right? So what was the use of finding those signs? So now we are going to check our inequality. We can see that our inequality is what? It's x squared plus x minus 12, whereby um it's great x plus x minus 12 is greater than or equals to 0, right? So whenever you hear this word greater than or equals to 0, it means what? You need to check the positive signs, right? You need to check where your interval is positive. So now we are going to check. Firstly, before checking it, remember you wrote -4 and 3. Then after writing -4 and 3, I forgot to write something. Then you need to include you write those two zeros from those values that you wrote, and then you check it's greater than or equals to. Because it's greater than and equals to, there is an equals to from that inequality. Then we need to shade our circles. Yeah, you need to leave them like this. So now, as I said, because we have greater than or equals to, meaning it's a what? It's a positive, right? So meaning from the timeline that we draw, we need um where there is a positive. So we can see that we find positive where 3 is where 3 where 3 is greater than 0, right? And also find negative where there is a -4 to what? To negative infinity. So you can see that we have a positive here, right? Which is represented by what? By greater than or equals to. Like I said, whenever you have greater than or equals to, you check where there is a positive. Because there is a positive here, and then you're going to draw that line which goes to the positive side. And also you can see that here we have a positive, right? From -4. Then you also draw that line which goes to the positive. Then you are done drawing. What about this one? We cannot use this one because of the intervals as what? Set what? Positive, whereby is greater than or equals to 0. And remember, whenever they say greater than or equals to 0, they are talking about what? The positive values, right? So after writing them like this, what is your interval? You're going to have open bracket, which is negative infinity, right? It's going to be negative infinity into, and then we have what here? -4. And then from here, we can see that this is a closed interval, right? So meaning we're going to use this thing. How do you see that it's a closed interval? We see that it's a closed interval because we have greater than or equals to. If it was only greater than, or if it was only less than, we're just going to use the open intervals. But then because we have greater than or equals to, then we used what? The closed interval. And whenever we have even though we have less than or equals to, as long as there's equals to, then we have the closed interval, right guys? So after, you're just going to write u, and then we go here from 3. We check from 3, which is here, right? If we check from 3, we have what? The closed interval, right? Therefore we're going to have the closed interval of what? 3 into, it goes what? To the positive infinite, which is the positive infinite. Then we write the open interval, and then we are done solving the first question. This is how we solve the inequalities. So as we are done solving the first question, now let's talk about the second example. And if you can check this this example that we did here. Here is the short trick of it. So it says that whenever you have x squared ax squared plus bx plus c, which is greater than 0, right? And then after finding your sign, if you have positive, negative, and positive, just know that the intervals that you're going to draw, or the lines that you're going to draw, they're going to be opposite to each other. Like the one is going to go there and the other one is going to go to the other side, right? So from the second question, we have x squared plus x minus 12, which is less than or equals to 0. Like I said, the first step is to do what? To change that inequality. Then we're going to have x squared plus x minus 12 is equals to 0, right? Then we solve for x, and like I said here, whenever solving for x, you can either use quadratic or you can use the step that we are using currently. But then if you're not sure about the values, kindly use our quadratic formula, guys. Then we are going to have x is equals to minus 4 or x is equals to 3, right? After writing this, what do we do? We are going to write the interval. After finding the values of x, we write the interval. So the interval is going to be, we draw the interval, right? We have negative 4 here and we have 3 here, right? After writing these values, what do? We check. We're going to write the two circles from the values that we wrote like at the above, but then after writing them, then we check we have less than or equals to. Because it's less than or equals to, we do what? We shade. If it was only less than, we don't shade those circles. And if it was greater than only, we don't shade them. But then whenever it's greater than or equals to, or less than or equals to, we shade them. After shading them, what do? We need to find the signs. How do we find the signs? Like I said, whenever we're finding the signs, we do what? We are going to remember, like here we have negative infinite, and then here we have positive infinite. We are going to check, we're going to choose any value which is less than negative 4 and plug it from the original equation. After plugging it, you're going to find that we are going to have positive here, and here we're going to have negative, whereby you choose any value between negative 4 and 3, and also here we're going to have positive, right? Then after having these positive values like this, right, what do? Now we can see that we have positive, negative, and positive, and then we check what? We check the interval. The interval is what now? It's greater than, it's less than or equals to 0. In simpler terms, it talks about what? Means there is, it's negative. We are focusing on what? On the negative values. Where do we see negative from that the signs that we wrote? We can see that the negative is between what? Negative 4 and 3, right, guys? So therefore, we are just going to join those two circles. Then that's it. Then after writing this, what do? Now we're going to write our values. We know that we're going to have open bracket because of what? It's negative infinity and negative 4. Because of it's a closed interval, then we're going to use this, and then u, and then we can see that we also have the closed interval, which is 3 and 1 and positive infinite. Then that's it. I now believe that you know how to solve the inequalities, guys. So you can also do question 3 and question 4, right? And then let's now talk about the short tricks first. So this short tricks, it says whenever you have ax squared plus bx plus c, which is greater than or equals to z, and then after finding your signs, let's say whenever it's positive, negative, positive, just know that the lines that you're going to draw, they're going to be opposite to each other, right? This is the first one. And the second one says that whenever you have ax squared plus bx plus c greater than 0, you can see that we have greater than 0 only. We don't have greater than or equals to. You can see that there is a difference. Where's the difference? You can see from the second one, we didn't shade these two circles, but then from the first one, we shaded them, right? And I hope you now remember why we shade them. And then from the third short trick, it's what? Whenever you have ax squared plus bx plus c, which is less than or equals to 0, therefore, you are going to what? To you're going to find, after, like, if you have positive, negative, and positive, the lines that you're going to draw for the timeline, it's here, which is from x1 to x2, right? So meaning, and then for question 4, that's how it is, and also for question 5. So if you have any question, guys, you can leave a comment behind, and like I'm going to do the second video whereby we explain how do we solve for x whenever we're given the square root. Kindly subscribe and also share the link to others. Thank you, guys.